Welcome back to Inner Peace, Better Health, where inner awareness meets better living. I'm your host, Sayan, and today we're going to be talking about something that most of us have gone through in their lives. At some point, almost everyone has had a moment where the body feels like it's working against them. A headache that won't go away, or constant fatigue, pain that doesn't have a clear explanation of why. And the instinctive reaction is usually frustration. Why is my body doing this to me? Today's conversation offers a slightly different way of looking at that experience. In this episode, Dayna Wylder joins me for a grounded and deeply human conversation about listening to the body as a messenger rather than an enemy. We talk about healing, the nervous system, subtle energy around us, and what it actually means to build a relationship with your own body instead of constantly trying to override it. So, if you've ever felt disconnected from your own body, frustrated by symptoms, or curious about what those signs might be trying to tell you, this conversation is just going to be about that. So, welcome to the show, Diana. It's an absolute honor to have you here with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. I love talking about this because I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of people who suffer and maybe don't really find any meaning or purpose in the suffering. They just see it as just punishment.
Yeah, totally. You're right, right. And I'm excited to have this conversation as well because I think most of us, are taught to think that relating to our bodies and what most of us are taught to think. So I wanna get started at you speak about the body as a messenger rather than an enemy. So what was that moment that shifted this perspective for you?
I mean, I did years of really disconnecting from my body. So it wasn't even just suppressing the messages of the physical body, but it really was suppressing my spirituality, suppressing my inner voice of my compass of what was right and wrong. And I ended up doing a lot of detrimental things to my body, living really caffeine, nicotine, sugar, staying up late at night, allowing toxins into my body, terrible eating, terrible lifestyle. And it wasn't just even terrible to my body, but it was also seeing my mind and body as two separate things and not treating my mind kindly either. So I allowed abuse into my life. I had, late rave night parties where, I felt like I was connecting to people and something, but really it was escapism. It was suppression. It was being uncomfortable in my own body and with who I was. And I think that that disconnection for me ultimately led my body to give me exactly what my mind was asking for, which was disconnection. And I ended up with multiple sclerosis. And for any of your listeners that aren't familiar with that, it's a neurological disease in which your body stops communicating through the mind. So you become numb, your skin, you can't regulate temperature, you can't feel where you are, proprioception. So where are you in space? You can't coordinate where, your legs land or your hands, your eyesight fails. Sometimes you have difficulty speaking, swallowing. There's so many symptoms, everything that would give you a sensation from your body to the mind through the nervous system and then communicate meaningful messages back from the mind into your body. It disconnected for me. And I feel like there's something really symbolic almost in that too, and a lesson just in and of the fact that I so badly didn't want to be in my body that I was using drugs and escapism to feel not like myself. And eventually my body gave that to me, but permanently and outside of my control. So I now had this disease where I was forced to, have a body that didn't work and I was stuck in my mind. And it was kind of then that I realized that there was something more meaningful in these symptoms and in the journey that was given to me overall. And that I really needed to start to unpack that if I wanted to heal, because I didn't really believe what the doctors were saying that this was just something genetic or that this was just bad luck. I really felt that there was something more meaningful in what was happening to me, and that would be the way out of what was happening.
Mm, yeah, that, I mean, that is disgustingly relatable because so many of us, only start listening, I think, when the body speaks way too loudly, right? You're already in that um, vicious cycle, so to say, when it's pain, burnout, or something that we can't ignore anymore. That's when I think the concept of escapism comes in. And most of the time we're taught to push through, find a way out, suppress the symptoms or treat the body like something to fix as quickly as possible. And so that brings me to this, that in a culture that is obsessed with fixing symptoms, right? How do we unlearn the habit of fighting our own bodies?
Well, I think that it's really gonna be seeing the body in relationship in a different way. So, your mind speaks in language and symbols, and we're very much predominantly living in our mind in the culture we're in now, right? We really have separated the mind from the body, even though that's something you can't actually do. It's, because they are intricately connected. But the body communicates in symbols and in feelings and in emotions and in sensations. So it's starting to become more literate in what the sensations of the body are trying to tell you. And so instead of trying to suppress them and push them away, it's allowing them to be there. And it's allowing sometimes to sit with the discomfort, because it is not a requirement of human life to be comfortable all of the time. Like, we were given all of these emotions, and there's no good ones and bad ones. They're just emotions because we're supposed to feel them. The problem is when
Right.
we stay stuck in them or we suppress and stuff them down. And the same can be said about all the sensations of the body. Sometimes we are uncomfortable because it's cold, right? Sometimes we're hot. Sometimes, we are hungry, right? We have all of these sensations in the body and we're supposed to pay attention to them. But I think what happens is we override the body in so many ways. And sometimes it's not even obvious ways like we're discussing today, which is suppressing pain and symptoms until they're really screaming at you to listen, right? Because we ignored the subtle symptoms. But it can also be more than that, in that you look at the wider culture, and I'm not sure about where you are in India, how prevalent this problem is, but being in North America, like, obesity is massive. Drug addiction, opioid crisis. We have so many things going on, and some of these people might not understand how sick they quite are yet, because maybe the body hasn't tipped to the point where it's not maintaining homeostasis or balance, but they're on their way there because they don't listen to the fact that maybe I'm full and I don't need more. Maybe I don't need
Mm.
another drink of alcohol, right? Maybe I didn't need the cup of coffee because maybe I should have went to bed earlier last night and then I wouldn't feel the need, right? And if I drank more water when I was thirsty, I wouldn't have a headache and then need an Advil. Right. And it's all of these things, whether it's as dramatic as me with my MS or something just as small as being 20 pounds overweight. It's really a symptom of the same thing, that we've broken this bond and partnership with our body as the temple that we're carrying with us throughout this 3D human experience.
Hmm. I think that really reframes healing as a relationship, and because when you stop seeing the body as something that you should conquer, right, you start getting curious about how different parts of you are actually working together. Like you said, but right now I think we're in an era where we treat our minds and bodies differently, like you said. um or sometimes talking past each other, and that's where I think things get interesting for me here, since you work with things like the nervous system and subtle energy. How do these layers influence the physical illness? Well, you said earlier that these are connected, but so how does this work around exactly?
I mean, one of the ways I laid it out in my book was through the 5 koshas, because I felt like it was an easy pathway to follow. And just like the limbs of yoga and some of these other things, you don't necessarily have to perfect one in order to move to the other. It's not really a ladder. They are just all connected, right? And we work through them. It's just that this one made sense to me because we live in such a physical world where we think of our bodies only as in the physical form, which it is. It is made of biochemistry. It does have, all of these organs and the systems and the cells. But we have to look at the layers above that too. So, when I started healing,
Right.
when I was just doing yoga and I was doing physiotherapy and a diet, it helped. And I mean yoga here, though, in just the asanas and the poses. I don't mean the spiritual path because that really looks different. But when I was treating it only as physical, I got to a certain point, and yes, it had an impact, but it didn't take me all the way. So I had to look at the next
Yeah.
layer. And when I found energy medicine and I found the prana, the chi, the vital thing that's animating us and starting to connect to that through breath and through the energy tools I use now through meditation, all of a sudden I had enough energy that it could sustain better practices with the body. So now I could stand up to cook a meal for longer. I could do my physical workout longer because I had energy to do it. And then I started to go, well, I reached a plateau still there too, where that wasn't just the energy, there was something more. And this is when I
Yep.
started getting more into the mind and to the quantum and the bliss body and these higher realms of our spirituality. Because what is governing the energy? Right? There's an information field. And once I started to realize that in physics, above all else becomes the information. You must have an architect, you must have a blueprint. And when you do that and you get that right, then the energy has the right instructions to do the right biochemistry in the body. So you need to get all
Right.
layers. You can't only heal at one spot. You need to see the bigger picture and how it all relates in a holistic way because you're more than just a body, you are a spirit. Right? And your mind is so powerful, and I think that we use our mind only to play our avatars and our egos, which is important. We need to navigate through the world, but we don't understand how the mind is shaping or containing the body within it, right? Where the consciousness is primary, right? And so when we get the consciousness part right and we get that blueprint and the architect, which means sometimes you got to go back and figure out what are these subconscious beliefs that are holding me back? What is this programming? What is the disharmony? What is the dissonant frequency that's in my mind that's making my body sick? And you gotta get to there if you really want the true full healing to occur.
Hmm. Wow. Well, then I really loved the way you bridged, philosophy, quantum science, and spirituality together. I really love. I would say that's brilliant. Most of us wouldn't think of us like that. And speaking of the five koshas that you just talked about, a couple of minutes earlier, um, which layer do you think people ignore the most?
Well, I've been asked this recently, and I think I wondered if the answer I gave was really the right one, but I thought about it later, and I think it is still. And it's the physical one. And this is an odd one to say because it's the
Yeah.
most illusionary.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Totally.
illusionary, right? We don't have a body. Like it's really the body is being controlled by something else. But the fact that we live in this body and we live so much in the supremacy of the idea of that everything is physical matter around us, right? That when we get this one wrong, we stay stuck here for longer because we believe, for most of us anyway, those that haven't gone further into the quantum physics of things, that we believe we just are a body. So we can get really stuck here and we can get very limited here because we hear things from the doctor, like when I got my MS and they said, 10 years, you're going to be in a wheelchair, right? 10 years, I ran a triathlon, right? Because I was like, there's no way that's going to be because I was going to use my mind to outlive what the doctor said to me because I didn't believe what he said. But for how many of us do the doctors say you've got 3 months or this is your prognosis? And we actually, we believe it to be true. And so then it
Very much.
becomes reality for us. Right. So even though I don't believe the physical body is the fundamental one, because I think if you jump all the way to the other end and you say, my consciousness, my bliss, my true essence, the divinity that's within me, if you get that part right, and I'm going to use this as a story, as an example I wrote about in my book. I was doing a healing fair and I had all these people coming through and I'm scanning them with bioresonance, which gives like an energy report to show them what's out of balance. And as people are going by and I'm asking them, do you want a free scan? Like, come and sit down. People are saying to me, oh, I don't want to know what's there. Oh, I know it's not good. I don't want to look at it. Typical answers I'm getting by people. And then this vagrant homeless man came in and he was only coming in. Clearly, it was winter. It's cold. He just wanted to have a warm place to sit for a few minutes inside. Now, most other people were repelled by him and they didn't wanna sit by him, he had an
Mm.
odor about him, but to me, I was intrigued by him, and so I called him over, I'm like, "Come on, you wanna sit down and come and have a scan with me?" And he was so radiant, like, this guy's was just beaming positive energy, even though of his appearance and what he looked like, and he said to me, "I don't need a scan, darling, I have so much energy, I'm good," and no doubt I believed it. That man right there, if I had to scan him, he would have had a cleaner energy system, even though he didn't have food and he didn't have safety and he didn't have the clothes and the warmth, because this man radiated something different that all the other sick people that were walking by with the money and their nice clothes and they're at a Christmas fair buying things. This man was so okay inside with who he was and what he was doing. He was aligned with who he was. And I know that that man was healthier than these other people that looked on the outside like they should have been doing so much better. And that's because these other people were so disconnected. So at the same time, I'm telling you the physical body is where we're getting it most wrong. It's not where you really should only focus. I think that's where we're getting it most wrong because it's where we live the most, right? So that's a tricky answer and a tricky, question, right? Because it
That's a beautiful way how you framed it. It's a beautiful, beautiful answer of how you framed it. Sorry to interrupt. So, I mean, Dana, like, there's, I have this thing that I think it's about the mind indeed. Something about what you said about the mind, really, really, strike me today. And what I'm taking away from this conversation, and okay, I'll try to explain this with the help of an example that most of you listening would understand probably. So, I'll take an example of everyone has a phone, right? Everyone uses a phone. So when the battery warning pops up, most of us don't get angry at the phone or force it to work longer, right? We plug it in because that's the information that we receive from the OS, right? Um, I mean, either we lower the brightness, we stop the heavy running apps, plug it in. That's the protocol, right? We understand it's giving us information. Um, I think it's the same with the body. When our body sends a similar signal, we often do the opposite. And I think I'm taking this thing from the conversation is that the body also works the same way as in the phone that I described. Those signals being just information. So um, that's and yeah, and I think the mind is truly. I think it's the most complex thing the universe has ever created. So if we can somehow connect to that, we can achieve what you said about forget about being enlightenment. We can just achieve a sense of more holistic life around us, right? We can start to see the um, we can start to observe and see the good even in the bad, right? And that induces, I think, a sense of um I would say, sorry, I just out of words, but I would say it does induces some sort of euphoria, right, in us, and I think that shifts our own alignment with ourselves. So thank you for being on this beautiful conversation with me, Dana. And just before we wrap this off, I would love to ask, where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so right now, I have a new book that's coming, just came out, so it's available on Amazon all over the world, called Unlearned Disease, Relearn Wellbeing. You can also find me on my website, energyovermatter.com. And then on all socials there, like I have a YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and it's all under Energy Over Matter.
Perfect. Oh, well, thanks for sharing that, Dana. And dear listeners, I'll have the details of the show notes for you, so you can check them out anytime at your own convenience. And with that, we hit today's mark on this very insightful conversation with Dana Wilder. I think when we stop fighting our bodies, right, and start listening, something subtle but important shifts. I think that's the whole idea that this whole conversation was about. So, guys, here's a mini challenge to carry this in your week. Once a day, I want you to pause for 30 seconds and notice one sensation in your body. Instead of trying to react to it or change it, I want you to simply ask, what might you need right now, right? No pressure to get an answer, really. Just practice listening because um if this conversation resonated with you, I want you to share it with someone who's been struggling with their body lately, or someone who could use a gentle way of relating themselves. And if you're enjoying these conversations, make sure to follow In a Peace Better Health for more grounded honest dialogues like these. Until next time, remember, when awareness meets better living, healing begins. Thank you.